nervous?
No.
Where's your answer?
Dennis Beckham, let the ball on! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Oh!
Oh, no! Oh, yes! He missed it.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Suffering from Joy podcast. I'm Devan, and joining me today is Jesse, the president of the local chapter of the American Outlaws here in Austin. Jesse, how are you feeling today?
You know, I'm feeling good. It was at first yesterday was a little rough, but I'm looking forward to Friday. Let's put it that way. I think we've got a lot of stuff happening with the team, and so excited to keep this moving and getting out of this group.
Are you feeling optimistic, neutral, or pessimistic right now?
I think if you would have asked me this last night, I would have been pessimistic. But this morning, I've kind of got a different tone to it. I'm starting to look at it. I think, especially if you look at the first 30 minutes of the game yesterday, I think there's a lot to take away. I also have a lot of belief that we can get a result, at least a tie from England. And so that gives me a little bit more hope.
Okay, I like the optimism. I'm famously on record saying soccer's coming home and we're going to beat England 2-0 on Friday. So haven't changed my mind a bit, even though they looked a little scary the other day.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about American Outlaws, not as much the national today, but kind of how local chapters are run. So just so you guys know, Jesse's the president of the local Austin chapter of American Outlaws. Feel free to follow them on Instagram, AOATX, Twitter, AOAustin. Would love if you followed the show at Suffering Pod on Instagram and Twitter, sufferingfromjoy.com. We would really, really like rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. If you guys can't manage that, we like listeners anyways. Just let us know. Feel free to let us know what you think. So, Jesse, first USA World Cup in 8 years. How was the watch party situation?
It's a little bit different World Cup. And as you said, we haven't had that in 8 years. So we knew going into this World Cup that we had to think a little bit differently. This is also the first time that Austin has had a professional team at the highest level in MLS. And so kind of thinking about that and what that means and how much more fandom there's going to be, we really started to think, we love Haymaker. Haymaker is our home, but we wanted to branch out and we wanted to make sure that people could kind of meet us wherever they wanted to go and kind of have fandoms all over Austin. And so that's really the biggest change in what we've done for this World Cup, more than a lot of other chapters or more than what we've done in the past, is we've reached out and we partnered with a couple different locations other than Haymaker. So with Hop Squad yesterday, that was our second large venue, and everything, I unfortunately wasn't there, but I'd met with them earlier in the day. Everything went great on that scale. And then we had a couple other spillover locations that all turned out great and had packed venues. And so we were really happy about the turnout, the crowd, and just how easy it was. I feel like, people were just excited to see the U.S. play. We're excited to see a World Cup game. And honestly, we had hardly no issues at all of our locations.
Well, that's good. I imagine having the 1 o'clock instead of the 4 a.m. games made that a little easier on you guys too.
Yeah, and it did allow for some late arrivals, and people weren't drinking a ton, and so there was a little bit of more of a camaraderie feel. In Haymaker, we had a small group of Wales supporters, and they were a ton of fun, and people seemed to get along great with them. Even after the result, people were still buying them drinks and congratulating them on that tie for them. They probably felt like they got the win, but you know what? It's always good to see people like that and to kind of have that camaraderie here in Austin.
Yeah, my cardigan Welsh corgi, Philip, and I were on non-speaking terms because he has a Wales scarf. So we couldn't talk to each other for 2 hours, but we made amends. So I'm glad everybody's back together, and we all need to focus on the important thing, beating England, both Wales and the U.S. ideally.
Yeah.
So how long have you been involved with American Outlaws, either kind of like generally, or how long have you been president of Austin?
Yeah, so I've been a member of AO for 10 years now. It was almost 11. It was back in 2011, when I first kind of got started. I was in undergrad at the time in Daytona. There was a small little chapter just getting started, and so I kind of jumped in. I've traveled around quite a bit. I moved to Austin. It would have been in 2017, and that's when I really started getting involved with the local chapter here. And I knew a lot of people already just through AO. That's the great thing about an AO, is that you get to know and become really good friends with people all across the nation. And so I already knew some people, so that really helped my moving into Austin. And then I became president of AO Austin about 3 years ago, 2019. And kind of since then, we knew that the World Cup was coming up, and we also knew that we were getting a professional stadium. And so we were hopeful, and we were able to host a few games. And so a lot has changed in the AO Austin just in the last 3 years. And I'm really excited with the direction we're going, and really excited about being able to host games, but then also this World Cup and future World Cups that we have.
Good. Well, I'm very appreciative of the work you guys do. I've been an AO member in, I think, 4 or 5 different chapters at this point for 12 years, something like that, and various amounts of, hey, I pay my money and I get my t-shirt. Maybe I'll show up to an event, maybe I won't. But there have definitely been bouts, especially after the debacle that we don't talk about, where I was a little more absent than previous years.
Well, I think that's the beauty of what AO is and what it brings, is it allows you to kind of choose your fandom. Like, as you said, if you just want to get a t-shirt every year and pay the dues, that's great. But if you want to be kind of gung-ho, like, there's room for everybody within this, specifically on the local side. Local chapters all across the nation are always just wanting either volunteers or people to show up and just have fun. I think that's really the best thing about joining any local chapter. Texas has a lot of chapters as well. People are listening. There's chapters all the way, San Marcos has a chapter, and there's obviously Houston and Dallas, but there's tons of different ways to get involved. I'd love to see chapters in Round Rock and some of the more closer places pop up as well, because I think it's just a great way to have a close-knit family.
No, I completely agree. And especially a place like Austin where people kind of move and you don't know anybody. Well, you have this common interest built in. It's a great way to go ahead and just start a conversation. And then, you can find out a little bit more about somebody else and go, oh, that's weird. I'm from Missouri too, right?
Yeah, right. You get that feeling of just like, I don't know, just immediately having an interest in the U.S. soccer puts you in close friendship mode already. And that's really what I love. And this community here in Austin is something special, and I'm really happy to be a part of it. And kind of seeing the growth has just been amazing within the last 3 years.
You mentioned potentially starting kind of closer in chapters, maybe Round Rock. What does a group need to get together and start their own chapter?
Yeah, so once again, the beauty of AO is you kind of get to make it what you want. So the bare minimum is you need to have 20 members. And so that's people who are paying members for AO. And then when you kind of go through, you can select where you want to be a member of, and there's unofficial locations. So the first step is really, you contact either someone from AO. So you can contact me. I'm one of the reps that kind of help these things start. And then we put you in contact with AO National. They put you on the website saying, hey, Round Rock is trying to start a chapter. And then really it's going to be as an unofficial chapter for a little bit. You'll get your memberships in line, getting that 25 or so members. And then you become a chapter, official chapter. And then it's just about having the bare minimum of having some bylaws, having a chapter leader, and making sure you have a home bar. And that's kind of it. And then you can kind of be a part of this amazing family. And I think here in Texas, we're wanting to see Texas kind of leading the way of multiple chapters, having tons of chapters, and really packing it out for AO stuff.
You mentioned you can kind of make your own way with your own chapter and do what you want. I mentioned, I've been part of plenty of different chapters that definitely do things very different all across.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of relationship does a local chapter have with the national organization?
Yeah, another thing that is like, you make it what you want. Some chapters, they get the money from AO National, and that's kind of all they deal with. They still hold their own stuff. AO National is, wanting to make sure that everybody abides by the act above rule that we have, and that's making everybody feel welcome. And that's the point of soccer, really, is to just like make sure everybody feels welcome, especially soccer fandom. Like that's really what we're here for, is just having a good time, welcoming people to our group, and cheering for the U.S. national team. So what that means from a local chapter is really, if you want to be like, when I first took over Austin, we had started making ourselves be known as the Jello Shot chapter, and that we were giving out Jello shots. And so we said that,
Can confirm.
we said that with our dues, that's where a lot of our money is going to go. Is it going to go into Jello shots? And so that's what we decided to do. There's other chapters that they want people to feel welcome right away. So not only do they get within their dues, instead of buying Jello shots, they get some scarves or something, and so they make sure that everybody that comes in has like one of those kind of cheap, smaller scarves, but it's something they can get. And so it's kind of about that. It's also about like chanting. Some chapters, you go to a bar and they do a ton of chanting and they have drums going, and that's great. But then there's also some chapters who they want to just listen to the commentary, and they want to, and that's partly why you vote on your chapter leaders, and because they're the ones setting those tones. And if that's, you can kind of help guide it your way. But there's no regulation from AO National saying that like you have to have drums in the bar, you have to have chants going. These are the chants. No one's saying that. I get to travel around for work a little bit, and I luckily was in Hartford not too long ago, and hanging out with some AO people, and they were telling me some of their chants that they have at their local bar, and it is vastly different than what we've heard at games or other things. And that's just what Hartford does, is they create chants, and they're a lot of fun. And hopefully those chants can get moved into kind of game day atmosphere, but it's something for them. It's something that they have at their bar that people know, okay, this is our chapter chant. And it's really fun. So there's tons of different ways you can make it yourself. There's no one telling you, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's really like, if you can think of it, your chapter can do it.
Okay, but your thing is Jello shots, and I'm assuming every chapter gives out free hugs, right? After a goal, at least.
Yes, after a USA goal, always free hugs, and we happen to also have Jello shots, which I'm proud of. But I do think there's also the mentality at Austin. We really strive to make sure everybody feels welcome, that everybody has a place to be, and so that's a big thing that we want to do. We're also not trying to push tons of merch or buying membership, so that's why. For this World Cup, we didn't necessarily set up a small table at Haymaker for some merch, but at our other locations, we didn't set up any kind of merch table. We really just wanted to make sure people just came to cheer, chant, and then hopefully later on we'll get some merch sales, which help us do those Jello shots and some other events like our TIFOs and that kind of stuff. But we also don't want to feel like we're pushing anything during the World Cup. And that's a mandate that we do as a chapter, not that any other chapter should do what we do. We just feel like that's the right thing to do in Austin.
All right. Well, my inner businessman / capitalist says you're leaving money on the table with how horrible all the USA merch official stuff is right now. But you guys have good merch too.
Yeah. No, we've got a couple people that are really passionate about designing some cool stuff, and we've partnered with some really great companies, and we've got some more that will be coming kind of in between this World Cup and the Women's World Cup, which will be this summer. We've got a couple of different partnerships that we're working with, and I'm really excited about what some of them look like.
Yeah, I wouldn't have mentioned that. I notice definitely this chapter and certainly some other chapters, and kind of one of the things I really like about American Outlaws versus maybe some other groups of people, either, different teams, not necessarily USA National, is that you guys do support the women's team I've seen some
Yeah.
support for some of the youth teams to the extent we can find them on TV or something like that. So it's not just hey, let's talk about the big boys when they go to the World Cup. It's all USA all the time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, more than just the youth as well. We also like we're here for every single youth soccer team, and that includes like beach soccer, street soccer. That also includes the Paralympics teams. We will chant and will show up to as many of those as we can. I'm proud that AO is a big reason why some of the youth games are on TV in the U.S. Because we've pushed national to make sure there's a space for us to watch that. And so that absolutely, and same with, as a local chapter, you can kind of push whatever you feel like your chapter wants. And in Austin, there's a huge women's soccer community. And so we knew that we have to make sure that we're showing every single game, that we're showing up at Haymaker for every women's soccer game. And so that's been really exciting, and kind of seeing that growth and kind of that that community come together, because it is a very different community than the men's community, but yet it's still, it's part of the same mentality.
Yeah, I love the inclusiveness, and like you said, I didn't know that you guys push to get youth stuff on TV, but I'm always glad when I'm like, oh, I have nothing to watch. I don't want to watch, I love hockey, but I don't want to watch it in October. When there's something like that else to get my soccer fix on. So we've had a lot of positive stuff so far. I do want to kind of jump on the elephant in the room. There's a report, I think, in the New York Times a couple of weeks ago about an AO board member taking money from Qatar, and all the details are kind of fuzzy. So can you tell us a little bit about, I think it was AO National, not like AO Austin or anything like that, but can you tell us a little bit about that scenario and what's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. This is something when I first read it that I was really upset about. And I reached out to Justin, who is the president of the AO National Board. I have his direct phone number, so I just texted him. And I was like, hey, man, what's going on with this? And he was pretty honest at first. He was like, we are blindsided by this. We don't know. We're investigating right now. And unfortunately, some of the members that they thought it was about were on a 4-hour plane ride. And so they couldn't contact them for quite some time. And so I know a lot of people were upset with AO National not pushing anything super fast. There's multiple different reasons. And personally, yes, I would have loved to have seen something come out quicker. But the truth is that like the people that they felt like it was alleging towards, or this article was alleging, were not available to be reached at all. And so once they kind of got to talking and they figured out, okay, here's what's going on, it was pretty quick that no one on the U.S. National Board, AO National Board, had taken any money for the deal that the New York Times was alleging. That the one person on our board that did go to Qatar, that was done for the U.S. fan group. And that was 100% through the U.S. Soccer Federation. That wasn't through AO. That wasn't through the Qatar group. That was through U.S. Soccer Federation that sent him there. Now, there's still a lot of things that they're looking into and investigating. And one of the main things is making sure that there is more transparency on how we make these deals and how we kind of let our members know here's what's really going on in U.S. And AO National. And I'm hopeful that this will bring apart some good change within AO. One of those being expanding on board, making it a little bit stricter of who is on the board, and also making it very clear of how the board is selected and chosen. And that's something that takes time to come out with all that stuff, but I do feel like they're moving quickly to make sure that transparency is coming out. They did put who is on the board on the website now after this event. So you can go to AmericanOutlaws.com and see who is actually on the board. But criticism where criticism due, there hasn't been a ton of transparency on a lot of this stuff. And that's something that as local chapters, I promise you, at least the Texas chapters are really pushing hard on making sure that there's more transparency. There is a great community of us that are president, vice presidents of Texas chapters. We're very active. We talk a lot with each other. And we are pushing AO National to make sure that we're, as a whole organization, more transparent and more in line with what our members believe and want to push.
Yeah, I mean, this World Cup's a learning experience for everyone, right? Whenever that stuff kind of went out, I'm a corporate lawyer, so I do a lot of compliance work. And whenever that stuff came out, I was just like, "Oh, this doesn't look good at all." So I'm glad we had a chance to clear that up. And AO National's getting their house in order, I guess, as we would say, as far as transparency goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to reiterate, there was no deal that AO National or anyone on the AO National board took with the Qatar organization. The only time that one of our board members went was he was going as part of the leadership group for the U.S. soccer fan group or fan council. And so that was the only time we've had one of our leadership for AO National go to that. Everybody that's there right now is, they're paying their own way. They are doing their own thing. AO is providing a housing option for a lot of people, and it's on a cruise ship that's in Qatar right now. But what's different this year is AO National didn't feel comfortable hosting parties or doing anything specific because of all the restrictions that Qatar has. And so any kind of party that you see people doing in Qatar with AO, it's all through U.S. Soccer putting that on.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So, I mean, does National kind of act as like a liaison more or less with U.S. Soccer, and then you guys kind of run the local chapters?
Yeah, and that's a good point. On a local chapter side, we have very little communication with the U.S. Soccer Federation. We do our national organization is the liaison, and everything that they do and talk with them goes through the board. But really, there's also not a ton of communication back and forth with U.S. Soccer Federation and AO National. Just it's kind of like, all right, where are you guys doing this? Kind of more logistic stuff.
Okay, yeah. Speaking of logistics, we did get to host a World Cup qualifier and a couple other matches, a women's match and was it Nations League against Grenada?
Yep, that is correct.
Okay.
One of the things I love is that we opened Q2 Stadium with the U.S. women's national team. The best of the best get to basically christen the Q2 Stadium. And to me, that was something special. It was something that I'm proud that Austin allowed for the first professional game to be played in that stadium to be the U.S. women's national team. And I'm also excited about, how we turned up and how we showed that people love soccer here in Austin. Austin is a soccer city. And I think that's been shown throughout our 3 national game matches that we've had here.
Yeah, we took some friends and their young daughters, and they had a great time. They thought it was fantastic. So we were really excited about it as well. For those sorts of events that we're hosting, like a big USA event here in Austin, what kind of workload or stuff do you guys do?
I mean, so when we find out, it's typically when everybody else finds out that the game's coming here. We're not told ahead of time. AO National isn't even told ahead of time. Sometimes they might get some rumors or here and there, and there was some rumors going on that we would get the U.S. women's game. There was also rumors about the Jamaica game going to Austin for the World Cup qualifier. But no one knows for sure until they actually announce it. And then pretty much as soon as they announce it, it's all hands on deck. There's a lot to figure out, all the way from logistics of where the night before party is going to be, which we know that's always going to be Haymaker, but we always want to make sure it feels special, that there's an element to it. The big thing is the TIFO and planning that out. And TIFOs aren't just a given. It takes a lot of people. It takes a lot of space. That's something that we've had a hard time finding at times, is finding a good location to paint the TIFO. And so we've gone and painted the TIFO at multiple different locations for our 2 big TIFOs that we've done. it's also getting the fabric and doing all that. And that's where, that's on the local chapters. That's us to find the finance for it, to find the locations for it, and to make sure those get done. But that being said, I love doing the TIFOs. I think we've had some great TIFOs that AO Austin has put together. I'm excited for more. I'm excited for more games. There's just a lot to be done when we host those games, and we're always looking for more volunteers. One of the things that we love doing is the tailgating. We do it slightly different, and I think that's the important thing to note, is that we're not just a Austin FC fan group, supporters group. We kind of want to be our own thing. We want to treat it as its own thing, because we do have slightly different interest and what we're kind of going for in an image, a separate image as well. And that's why, I think a lot of people are like, well, why don't you do it this way? And it's like, okay, well, yes, that's a great way to do it. But we want to stay true to what AO Austin is, and our kind of our motto and our image. And so, yeah, there's a lot that has to be decided, and things are slightly different than what we've seen done with the local groups that are here.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, sort of about halfway answer the next thing I was going to ask you is, obviously we have a great fan support here in Austin. We have some badass TIFOs from the supporters groups here in Austin. Like, what sort of crossover is it? Just kind of the same people do some of the same stuff, or is there any actual like formal, hey, go ahead and talk to, La Murga because we need 2 trumpets or something, or anything like that?
Mm-hmm. So, and this is on their side as well. I think there's always want to separate the two to some degree. There are, like when we get the drums, yes, we need to contact La Murga because we need some drums. We need some drummers to help out. But it's not like an official, like, okay, we are partnering with La Murga to do this. It's more of like hey, we're all friends here, and if you want to come and help out the U.S. national team, come join us. That being said, the supporter groups that are here in Austin are all wonderful, and they just they step up. What's really good, yeah, I'm a member of 2 of them. I'm a member of LV, and I'm a member of Anthem, and I love that I can just in LV, I can put in the LV Slack, hey, we're going to be doing this. We need some volunteers. Who wants to volunteer? And I'll get a massive amount of lists. Same thing with Anthem. I'll put it in their Discord, and I'll get a really great list of people who want to come and help out. And so that's a great resource for us, and I'm excited about continuing that. But that being said, we are different, and we don't want to just take from them willy-nilly, because they're also, have to keep club separated from the national team. There has to be a separation there, because not everybody is a fan of the U.S. national team, and I totally recognize that. And I think in a city like Austin, that's 100% fair.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure there are some transplants who are from other cities that aren't Austin FC fans too, right?
Yeah, and absolutely. We have people that showed up yesterday that was like, I haven't really done much with the supporters group in Austin, but I really love that you guys are here for the U.S. team, because I don't want to support Austin FC right now. And I'm like, oh, you're a Columbus fan, okay? And that's what.
Well, maybe not the best example, but
no, but there's still good USA fans out there that aren't necessarily Austin FC fans that still want to be involved. So we try not to cross too much there.
All right, let's get into some fun stuff. Yeah. 2 games left in the group. Predictions. Give me scores, Jesse. Give me scores.
Ooh. You know what? I'm going to say England's going to be a good scoring game. I think USA is going to go up first, but Wales will tie it in the second half, and then I think it'll probably end up being 2-2.
2-2. We get a
2-2. We get a draw against England. And oh man, for Iran, I just don't see us giving up a goal. So I'm going to go 3-0, 3-0 against Iran.
Oh wow. Okay, so you're optimistic, I think. So that would give us 4 points. Or no, that would give us 5 points. So that's
5 points in all.
Yeah, we'd be out of the group with that easy.
Yep. Yeah, if we can get a tie, I think the big one is getting a tie on Friday, and then I think we've really got to step up, and we no matter what, we want to make sure we score plenty of goals against Iran just for padding, but it would be great if we could get a tie against England.
Yeah, we'll start at a tie. I'm still going to go with soccer's coming home and we're winning, but we'll start at a tie and we'll work our way up from there.
Yeah.
So another big question I had for you about these watch parties, I'm like a hyper nervous, have to be locked in on these super important games. And even, before we started podcasting about it, I have to have all the analysis run through my brain. So I can't really do the watch party thing as much because you always end up talking to somebody, or everybody's not as locked in, or there's some distraction off in the side, or somebody's getting up and walking in front of the screen, like, even if it's just a throw in and nothing big's going on. Do you actually get to watch the games at these? Or are you doing logistics stuff the whole time, or how does that work?
It's interesting. I get asked this quite a bit from some of my friends that aren't big soccer fans. They're like, well, "You love watching it. What's going on here? I see you off running and doing things." And yeah, the truth is, I don't necessarily always get to watch fully. I think so what I end up doing is I'll definitely always keep an eye on what's going on, and but also handling logistics. But then I'll go back home and really watch it, and really dive deep into the tactics and that kind of stuff, and do a rewatch. But I think for me personally, I just love the fact that AO, and specifically AO Austin, can be a place for people to come and learn soccer, can be a place for people to feel comfortable and kind of enjoy the game that I love. And so I'm okay with kind of giving up some of my need to be super locked in for a little bit, so that I can bring the sport to more people.
Okay, yeah, I've been to a couple of qualifiers, and I see people moving around, but I wasn't sure because these games are so important. If you set up like a little chair, like a tennis or a volleyball referee, where you're up above, so you can watch the whole crowd and watch the game at the same time, and do all your duties all at once. So I was really curious about that.
During the games, I'm walking back and forth on the ground level, talking with security. AO National typically has one person there. But one of the things that we've always said is that, if AO National is going to be talking to U.S. Soccer, that they need to at least have one representative from AO Austin talking with them, that they can't really talk without us, just because we know the stadium, we know the people, and we can help solve issues probably faster than someone from AO National can.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. The other big one I wanted to ask you is, I know in the past, Austin's made it on TV for the broadcasts for a few fan watch parties. Can we expect any of that in the next two games?
Yeah, I don't know if we'll necessarily be live. There was some discussions with Fox early on. I think they were really focused on the Kansas City area. But
yeah,
Austin,
they have that nice setup at Power and Light, so that makes sense.
Yeah. But I think we'll get some clips in. There were some videos that were sent in to them. So some replays and stuff definitely might happen. And then later on, during the round of 16 and further on, I think you might get some live shots coming in.
Okay, yeah, I know. I love hearing from people, and it's a weird striking percentage, like 35% of people say the 2010 World Cup is what got them into soccer, and they love going back and watching the reaction videos from the Landon Donovan goal. I always thought it was a great video to be like, oh, I know that person. Oh, yeah. So how did you get into soccer?
Man, I've been a soccer fan since I was a little kid. My parents are big soccer fans. My grandparents are soccer fans. So it's kind of part of the family. Just growing up on a small little farm on the border of Arkansas, Missouri, there wasn't much else to do.
Classic soccer country, right?
Right, yeah. It just so happened that my parents were big fans, and that we would it'd be the thing to watch. They weren't football fans, and so we never watched football together, but we would watch soccer together. And so we pay attention to that. And that's kind of what got me into it. And they were also big U.S. national fans. And so we would go and watch those, and we'd go to a couple games, and that really got me thinking about, my love and of the sport, and really got going.
Slightly cheaper ticket prices back then.
Oh my gosh. You could basically have walked into games like when they would come to St. Louis or they go to Kansas City, and you could just walk in, really.
Yeah, I think I went to one in Kansas City, probably at Arrowhead. I don't remember, where literally they weren't even taking tickets like we had them, but they were just like, no, just go in.
Yeah, just like find a random seat. You'll be good.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's plenty of room, guys. Trust us.
Mhm.
Okay. So I guess we got to do this other thing that I don't love doing, but it is the theme of the podcast. Let's go from your start as the American Outlaws president of the Austin chapter. What has been your biggest U.S. men's national team moment of suffering?
Man. So I started as the president of AO Austin, basically, and I had been the vice president for the 2 previous years. But I started right after we didn't qualify, and obviously that's a heartbreaking moment. That yeah, there's just no words for that one. But I would say I feel like that's a little bit of a cop out of oh yeah, when we did qualify. But man, what would be another one of mine? I would have to say I was lucky enough to go to Jamaica for the Jamaica away game, and while it was amazing being in Jamaica and it was so much fun experiencing that, seeing the tie was definitely not my favorite, and so that was pretty upset. And then the Canada game, World Cup qualifier, the 2-0 loss to Canada, that was pretty tough as well.
Very popular choice, that one.
Yeah.
But I mean, they ended up topping the group, so it turned out a little better than we
Yeah,
thought.
definitely.
Okay. Any other big, maybe non-USA World Cup predictions? Top scorer, who's going to win, anything like that you want to throw at us?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? After seeing Mexico play today, and really within their group, um, I think they're going to beat Argentina next Saturday. Uh, I think Mexico can easily beat Argentina. You can take that as you will, but I think this is not looking good for Argentina. And then to kind of get more high end prediction, um, I just I keep going back to I really think France is going to be able to get it again and get 2 World Cups in a row. So I'm going to say France is winning it all.
They look good today, and I was up bright and early to watch Argentina. I was thinking score, 5 goals against Saudi Arabia, and
You thought?
I was just like, oh, I'm going to feel cheated if this game ends up like 2-0 or something. And then I was absolutely not cheated. But
Oh
uh,
man.
anything else you want to tell us about World Cup, AO, you
Yeah.
yourself before we get out of here?
No, I mean, I think the main thing that I want to get across to people is that, AO Austin is, we're such an open group and we want people to just have fun any way that they want to have fun. And so if you have ideas for what we can do, we want to be kind of the conduit for that. And we want more people kind of being in our organization, and we want kind of more big ideas that we can help provide. And so anybody and everybody, if you see me around, just come talk, come say hi. I'd love talking about the game. And if you have questions about it, I know that there's some disconnect with AO National and local. And so if you have questions about that, don't hesitate to ask about it. I'm hopeful that I can ask, and I can also tell you what we're trying to do to change that, because like I said, there's a big group of us in Texas that are wanting to make the change for better, and to really make AO something that can be inclusive and can be transparent, and something everybody should feel proud of as the largest supported group in the U.S.
All right. Well, back your bid for an AO Texas secession movement if it doesn't clean up the national office quick enough. Best place to contact you if they have questions. AO Austin TX on Instagram, AO Austin on Twitter. Best places.
Yeah, direct message on any one of those. Also, our Facebook page is AO Austin. So more than happy to take questions and ask anything. I mean, shoot, you can. Our email is outlawsaustin@gmail.com. So you can email us if you want. I have that going to my phone, so I check that. So any way that you can contact us, just give us a contact. One of us will see it. We'll make sure any questions you have are answered.
Don't knock the email, man. I'm old school. That's what I use. So
right. Yeah, some people just feel more comfortable asking questions that way, and I'm all for it. And we just want to make sure that everybody is fully aware of what's going on. And then, like I said, if you're wanting to start a chapter in one of the small cities near us or around the surrounding areas, reach out as well, because I would love to see this grow, and especially here in Texas. I think Texas, like I said, we need those small chapters. It's really the lifeblood of what AO is about. And so I'd love to see those grow.
Yeah, and I guess a lot of people don't know this. I've been a member of like a tiny chapter of AO, and they're almost always the most fun, because you have your bigger chapters with like logistics, and you can just get like 20, 30 of your friends and be like, hey, all we do is we got these specials at this bar we were already going to go to, and all this great stuff going on, and then you can kind of make your own way. It's a cool thing and a lot of fun. Thanks again for joining us, Jesse. AO Austin TX on Instagram, AO Austin on Twitter. Would love if you guys would follow us at Suffering Pod, both Twitter and Instagram. Apple Podcast review helps us out, helps us grow the show. We're hoping to get some cool stuff out to our reviewees soon, but I got to run that by my executive producer before I actually tell you guys what we're going to do. But once again, Jesse, great talk. Hopefully we'll get to do some logistic discussion on a knockout match or something. And
love to see it.
Yeah. All right. Well, great. And once again, everyone, thanks for suffering with us. Bye.
Promise here for Austin Jared Stroud. It's Diego for goodness! He has written his name into Austin folklore.
They just won't go away.
Oh, he hits the upright again! That's impossible!
The Bears' season's going to end on a double doink.
Altidore squares it. Dempsey's missed it. Donovan has it. From hope, there is glory.